Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm back with the Mooer GE150 Pro, as Mooer have just launched a pretty major firmware update for it. Let's get straight into the update procedure. You're going to want to download the new GE150 Pro app from the Mooer website. Once you've done this, you'll want to hold the A and B foot switches while powering the unit on to enter update mode. Now we're going to open up the GE150 Pro app. And on Mac, this is going to give you an error, so you want to open up the system settings and enable it from the privacy. I think the box I've just checked is the one to update it, but I have no idea as none of this is in English. So now my unit has been updated, I can open up the desktop editor and start playing around with some of these new features. Yes, I've changed clothes for this next bit. I wanted to familiarise myself with this new update before diving into all of the effects and everything. The update took me about 55 seconds, but your mileage may vary on that. Let's go over the footnotes for the update. A couple of minor things first. There's a spillover now, so if you keep the same delay and reverb blocks over two different patches, the delay and reverb trails will spill over between the two when you switch them. There is a new interface for the looper to make it easier to use. There's a new global setting for global EQ, which lets you adjust the entire EQ of the unit, which can be nice if you're playing in different rooms, for instance. The battery icon has also been updated on the lithium version, which is the one that I've got here. The main headline of this update is that it now supports Mooer's MNRS files. These are amp captures that are available to download on Mooer's website. There's currently over 5,400 of them, which really bolsters this unit out. Before I get into that though, I'd like to run through this preset that I've built to show off some of these new features. Starting with the amp, I've got a capture of a Soldano SLO100, and I'm running into an ML SoundLab impulse response. This is the RX Green 90. To add in some distortion, I've added the rumble drive. Swapping the distortion out for a compressor, I've added the red comp. For the noise gate, I've got the Intel reducer, which I will get into later on in the video. In the modulation section, I've got the new optical tremolo. And in the reverb section, I've got the new shimmer reverb. Now that we've gone through this new patch, let's go through the new features. For the effects section, we have two new compressors, the red comp and the S comp. The red comp is a super squishy pedal sort of compression. I think it's based on the MXR Dynacomp. If we switch over to the S comp, you'll hear it's not as squishy, it's more of a studio compressor. Another one in the effects/compression section is the new limiter. This isn't something I'd normally want to run at the start of my chain, but you can't move the blocks around on the GE150, so this is where it is. A new block found in both the effects/compression and in the noise gate blocks is this Intel reducer. This is supposed to reduce some of those digital artifacts that you can get with some modeler units. If you turn this one up too high, it gets super dark and pretty awful to listen to, so let's dial it back until we find a nice spot for it. It's definitely not doing a ton there, that's for sure. Now onto some of these distortions. This is really where things have started to ramp up a lot. I'm not going to introduce every single one of these perfectly, I'm just going to say what they are and what they're based on. VX UBOD is based on the Vox Tube Overdrive. Type Metal is based on the amp tweaker of the same name. The juicer is going to be the DoD Juice Box. Rumble Drive is based on a Zen drive. Solo is the Sur Riot. Blues Mood is going to be based on the Boss BD2 Blues Driver. Blues Crab is based on the Marshall Blues Breaker. Finally, there's the Hustle Drive, which is based on the Fulltone OCD. There's also a bunch of new modulations, which I'm still upset that you can't change the order of these, because some of these would work perfectly into the front end of the amp instead. I digress though, so let's dial these in and see what they sound like. This is the Dual Phaser. Now we have the Modern Phaser. Next up is the Flanger Pro. This is going to be an expanded version of the original Flanger. The next one is the Modern Rotary. The final actual modulation in this section is the optical tremolo, which I showed previously. This is an octaver based on the Electro Harmonix POG. Of course I have to demonstrate this one with a little bit of drive. This is the new reverb, which is a shimmer effect, and personally, I don't think it's a great shimmer. Yeah, not a huge fan of that one, but it's there. Before I get stuck into some of the amp captures in this new update, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, a comment. It helps me out massively, and it makes sure that you don't miss my future uploads. So the really exciting thing about this update is that it can now load MNRS amp captures. The method threw me initially, so I will mention it in this video. Instead of loading it in the computer tab like you may think is the logical option, you have to load it through the amp section. There's a whole tab full of amps and loads of empty slots for you to add in the MNRS profiles. There's no browser for the profiles inside the app itself, so you will have to go onto Mooer's website, and it can be quite tricky to find them, so I will link both the regular website for everyone to upload theirs, as well as the official MNRS captures in the description box down below. There are two types of MNRS profiles. There are P for preamp, which is just going to be the amp section, and there's also E for entire rig, which is the amp and the cabinet. I'll start by trying out some of the preamps, particularly ones I didn't find faring too well in the stock options here, so the Rockaverb is going to be a big one. Now I've imported the Rockaverb, I'm going to click on it and see what it sounds like. Already so much better than the stock Rockaverb model. Another one that didn't really fare too well in the stock models is the Marshall JCM800, so let's load up one of these and see what that's like. I do typically find myself preferring the MNRS profiles to the stock amps in the unit, and this really does open up a whole new world of tone for this thing. Now to try out some of the full rig captures, I need to disable the cabinet section. For this first one, I've loaded up a Bogner Uberschall. And now for a British sort of high gain thing, let's go for a Friedman BE100. Okay, so I've also boosted this one with the Tube Screamer, and I'm running the noise gate after it just to keep things nice and tight. So drop a comment down below letting me know what you think of this unit now that it's been updated. Personally, I think amp captures are a phenomenal addition to a sub $200 unit. I still think that this unit needs the ability to move the blocks around, or at least move the effects from one block into a different category. It's mainly things like the octave here that I'm thinking of. Maybe this is something we'll see in a future update, but I wouldn't hold my breath on it too much. This update though is absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad to see Mooer being so receptive to the criticisms and acting so quickly on them. That said, all of these blocks and features are prevalent on other Mooer devices, so it may just be that it was fairly simple to port them over. It may even be that they wanted to have these on release but couldn't get it done in time. A minor critique on this update is there are a few little spelling issues. I noticed a lot of inconsistencies between the update notes and what's actually on the unit, such as the VXUB drive and the Intel reducer. That said, overall I'm incredibly happy with this update, and the amp captures have really breathed new life into this unit that I previously wasn't a major fan of. Now if you'd like to check out my initial review of the unit, there'll be a link in the description box down below, as well as on screen. That's everything that I've got for this video though, so thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I do really appreciate it. Until next time, I've been Kai.